On this page, I talk about health, equity, and possible resolutions. And my focus is place, workforce, and policy for several reasons. So depending on where you live, it determines your availability to healthy food, the quality of food, if it's all a lot of sugary, high sodium, things of that nature, which happens in a lot of certain communities, then it can affect your health long term, which can affect the jobs you qualify for, because you could be an Ivy League school educated person, but if you have some kind of autoimmune disease that requires you to make doctor's appointments, unless you get hired for higher jobs where you have more control and autonomy over your time, you're not going to maintain a job. And so health is important, and place affects that, and even workforce, right? So myself as in the military, I had health care and I had a steady income. And there was a time where I got pregnant and I found out Sunday, but I was in a car accident Friday. And I'm glad I didn't go to the doctor first thing Friday, because what do? They give you Percocet or Motrin or whatever they do for us and Band-Aid you up and get you ready for work again for active duty military members. Whereas for being pregnant, it was a whole different route. So I ended up being on 4-hour shifts, which was an issue in by itself, but the reality was I still kept my benefits. I still kept my job. They couldn't fire me because of a medical issue that occurred going from a military function that I requested not to go to because the weather was too bad and you made me, so you can't get me in trouble for it. And I wrote that in my safety report. And then I was able to work, and I got really sick one day, and I woke up like fully sweating, and by then I'm 5.5, 6 months pregnant with my son. And I called the base doctor, and I sat there for 3 hours waiting for them to come in and say, you should have went to your optometrist. But it was like my body, and his first time mother, and I was 24 and young, so I didn't understand, like, how do I know which one to go to and when? So I figured my body, let's go with them first. So I called my OBGYN. I told him what was going on. I told him some of the medical history stuff that I had up to this point, and they said, we are getting a hospital room for you. Go straight to the ER and then tell them who you are, and they'll escort you to your room. Like, they didn't even see me yet, and they already know, like, I'm going to be in a room, right? So I get into the room, and they figure out that I was having kidney issues. And those issues stemmed from basic training, not going to the bathroom. It travels up everywhere. So something that happened when I was 20 and 19 affected me when I was pregnant at 24. I had a big issue for in between showing that it was progressing up my organs when I was deployed, but you're limited when you're deployed and what you could do. So it stabilizes you and then treats you when you get home. But if you're not home for 6 months, whole nother story, right? So they ended up winding up putting me on bed rest. And then after I was on bed rest, I had the baby. And at that time, you only got 6 to 8 weeks off. And since I had a C-section and there was an issue going up until my delivery, they ended up giving me the 8 weeks. So now my son's born. I haven't worked. Found out I was pregnant in January. I worked 4-hour shifts from January until, let's see, he was born in September. 3 months back would be August, July. So June, I was on 4-hour shifts, and then June till I gave birth, I was on bed rest. To have him the end of September, so September 28th, to go on maternity leave, and then you're going to go back to work, but now it's Thanksgiving, and then it's Christmas. So I really didn't work for a whole year, but I kept my medical benefits, I kept my job. And at a certain point in your career, you make rank based off time and service. So I didn't get my path of progression wasn't messed up. So it was all these things from a decision I made that secured my workplace and enhanced my ability to have a location where I lived and experience life on a daily basis in a nice area because I didn't lose a job because of a medical condition, right? Or I had the health care so it didn't get bad. The issue with my kidneys could have caused early delivery, which I started at 6 months, which is why they put me on bed rest. But they were able to stop it because I had good doctors, right? Based off of the job I had and my insurance. Everybody loves when military shows ID because they're getting their money from the government. So I had good doctors. I had a great hospital. They were able to stop the delivery and help him to stay until he was due. And it also can cause cognitive delays is another issue, which they had the concern with until he was born. And I was like, because his head was big in my stomach. They're using measurements because that's the way they decide on Down syndrome and other issues that might happen. And it was fine, but it was based off of my place and my workforce. And so I feel like some people have no control over their place when you're a child, right? And this state has been known for having a very poor upward mobility kind of life experience. And so I feel like one way to help people is policy and to advocate and to be active in activism type things. So that's where this page comes into design. And I talk about CDC health equity, and I provide my statement of interest on what my goal is if allowed to be in this program, which I'm in, and what I wanted to do with it. And so those you can find as well. And anthropology is a really good connection to have because there's a connection to policy making and anthropology because we understand the holistic approach of an event, right? Like there's a policy that was pushed down and rejected that was presented. I shouldn't say pushed down. And it was not voted on because upper class cisgender white males couldn't fathom who would go to a gas station to buy produce when you live in these areas where there's food deserts. So instead of getting information and understanding the history of red zoning and the crescent in Charlotte and the way things are, they just looked at what they think they should be. And so understanding the holistic approach, the understanding of place, workforce, policies that were made, culture based off of the environment that you grew up in and the effects that it has, anthropology helps to bring it all together and create a great narrative that when I present stuff and I get on a board, because one of my internship opportunities is working with Congresswoman Adams, and she's an advocate for women's health because she had a heart attack on the House floor and AD saved her. But that was a policy put in place before that made them have to have AEDs, which was able to save her when she needed it. And so I feel like these things are extremely important. Place, workforce, and policy, both how we build the workforce, because if we get people working, like think of Amazon, right? But you have you work hard, you get burned out quick, you don't make great money, and you don't have time to stop to go to the bathroom, which can cause a UTI, which can cause bladder issues, which can spread to your kidneys, which is what happened with me because basic training, nobody wants to ask to go to the bathroom. So where you work and the availability of time you have for self-care and downtime and the ability to control your environment and know when you need to step back because it's a lot. All these things matter, and that's why I'm really passionate, and that's what made me focus on these for my page.